He chose them over his empire. Now, the empire wants blood. Min-jun Kim declared war on his own father to protect the woman he abandoned and the triplets he never knew existed. But in his world, family is the deadliest weapon. Arya thought she could run. Thought she could hide 3 5-month-old babies from the most powerful crime organization on the East Coast. She was wrong. Because when you're the mother of a mafia heir's children, disappearing isn't an option. It's a death sentence. Now Min-jun must make an alliance with his father's oldest enemy. Arya must choose between freedom and survival, and somewhere in the shadows, someone else is watching. Someone who knows about the babies. Someone who wants them for reasons darker than anyone imagined. Welcome back to The Impossible Return, where protection looks like a cage, where love demands impossible sacrifices, and where 3 innocent lives hang in the balance between empire and extinction. This is episode 2, The Devil's Bargain. Some deals save you, others damn you forever. Min-jun had 48 hours, maybe less. That's how long it took for word to spread in his world. How long before every rival family, every ambitious lieutenant, every enemy his father had made in 30 years, learned that the heir had gone rogue, that he'd chosen civilians over empire, that he'd become weak. Weakness was blood in the water, and sharks were already circling. He sat in a safe house his father didn't know about, one of 3 he'd established years ago for exactly this scenario. The room was sparse, functional, a table, a chair, 3 phones, one window overlooking the city his family had controlled for generations. That control was about to shatter. His laptop screen glowed in the darkness. Financial records, territory maps, names, every piece of leverage his father had built, every secret, every sin. Min-jun had been copying files for years, insurance he'd never thought he'd use. Insurance he was about to cash in. The first call was the hardest. He dialed a number most people would kill just to know existed. 3 rings. Then a voice like gravel and old smoke. Min-jun Kim, calling the man whose brother you killed. Bold. My father killed your brother. I just pulled the trigger. Semantics don't resurrect the dead. No, but revenge does. Silence. Heavy. Calculating. Viktor Kozlov, head of the Russian syndicate that had been at war with the Kim family for 15 years. The man whose brother died in a warehouse fire that wasn't an accident. The man who'd sworn to destroy every Kim who breathed. You're offering me what, exactly? Victor's accent was thick, dangerous. Your head on a plate? My father's empire. Complete access, territory maps, financial records, every deal he's made, every weakness he has, everything. In exchange for? Protection. For 3 people. A woman and her children. Your children. Not a question. Victor already knew. Of course he did. Information was currency in their world. Yes. And why would I protect the next generation of Kims? Why wouldn't I just kill them and you and watch your father's legacy burn? Because killing me gives you nothing, but helping me gives you everything. My father's empire collapses from the inside. No war, no losses, just systematic destruction from someone who knows every pressure point. Victor laughed, actually laughed. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking you to use me, there's a difference. More silence. Min-jun could hear Victor thinking, weighing options, calculating angles. Send me proof, real proof, something that hurts. Then we talk. The line went dead. Min-jun stared at the laptop screen, at his father's bank accounts, at 30 years of crimes documented in spreadsheets and encrypted files. This was betrayal on a level his world had rarely seen. Son against father. Heir destroying empire. Blood turning on blood. He thought about Mira in that hospital bed, about Kai's tiny hand gripping his finger, about Zara sleeping peacefully in his arms, about Arya's face when she told him to leave. Then he started typing. By dawn, he'd sent Viktor Kozlov enough information to collapse 3 major deals, expose 2 politicians his father owned, and redirect $15 million from Kim accounts to Russian ones. Proof. His phone rang exactly 6 minutes later. You're either the smartest man I've ever met or the deadest. Victor's voice carried grudging respect. Meet me, noon, the old cement factory on River Street. Come alone or don't come at all. Agreed. And Min-jun? If this is a trap, they'll find pieces of you in 3 different states. Understood. The call ended. Minjun had 6 hours to prepare for a meeting that would either save his family or end his life. He chose to believe in the former, because the alternative meant Arya was right, that his world destroyed everything, and he refused to let that be his children's legacy. Arya had been packing for 3 hours. Everything she owned fit into 2 suitcases and a diaper bag. That's what happened when you built a life from nothing. When you learned to travel light because staying meant dying. The triplets were sleeping. Finally. Exhaustion had won over the chaos of moving. Mira's breathing was better. The antibiotics had worked. The hospital released them with instructions and warnings and concerned looks that said, "Are you sure you're okay?" She wasn't okay. She was terrified. But terror was productive when it came with a plan. The plan was simple. Disappear. Change her name. Move to a different state. Maybe Canada, maybe Mexico, somewhere Minjun's world couldn't reach. Somewhere his enemies couldn't find her children. She'd done it before. 6 months ago when she'd discovered she was pregnant and alone. When she'd left everything behind and built a new life in this city. She could do it again. She had to. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Almost let it go to voicemail. But something made her pick up. Ms. Arya Santos? Male voice. Professional. Cold. Who is this? A friend. Someone who wants to help you. I don't need help. You're packing right now. 2 suitcases. Planning to leave the city with 3 infants. You withdrew $8,000 from your business account this morning. Bought bus tickets to Chicago under a fake name. You absolutely need help. Arya's blood went cold. She looked at the window, curtains closed, door locked. But someone was watching. Someone knew everything. What do you want? To offer you a choice. Run and be hunted, or accept protection and survive. Protection from who? From everyone. Minjun's father, his enemies, the people who left that package at your building, the ones planning worse. I don't believe you. You don't have to believe me. You just have to look at your daughter, the one who almost died yesterday. Ask yourself if you can protect 3 babies alone when men with guns come looking. Arya's hands shook. She looked at the crib where Mira slept. So small, so fragile, so impossibly vulnerable. Who are you? Someone Minjun hired. Private security, former military, very expensive, very good at keeping people alive. I told him I don't want his help. And he's ignoring you. Smart man. Because your pride doesn't stop bullets. I'm hanging up. There's a car outside your building. Black SUV, tinted windows. Driver's name is Marcus. He's been there since you left the hospital. We'll stay there until you're safe. You can run. He'll follow. You can accept help. He'll protect you. Your choice. The line went dead. Arya ran to the window, pulled the curtain back an inch. Looked down at the street. There it was. Black SUV. Exactly as described. A man in the driver's seat, watching her building, watching her. She let the curtain fall, pressed her back against the wall, tried to breathe through the panic. This was her life now. Men watching, phones tracking, every move monitored. This was what loving Minjun Kim cost. This was the price of his children. One of the babies cried. Kai. Always the sensitive one. As if he could feel her fear. Arya moved on autopilot. Lifted him. Rocked him. Sang the lullaby that always worked. The one about stars and safety and lies mothers tell when the world is burning. He calmed, nestled against her shoulder. Trusted her completely. The way children trust before they learn that mothers can't stop everything, can't protect against everything, can only try. Arya looked at the suitcases, at the plan, at the dream of escape. Then she looked at Mira, at Zara, at Kai in her arms. 3 lives depending on her making the right choice. Not the proud choice. Not the independent choice, the right choice. She picked up her phone, dialed the number that had just called. It rang once. Smart decision. I haven't made a decision yet. I want to talk to Minjun. He's in a meeting, unavailable. Then I run. Silence. Calculation. He'll call you. 1 hour. Don't leave before then. The line went dead again. Arya stood in her apartment surrounded by packed bags and sleeping children and the ruins of her independence. 1 hour. She'd give him 1 hour. Then she'd decide if safety was worth the cage. If protection justified the prison. If love could survive when freedom died. The clock ticked, the babies slept, the SUV waited. And Arya learned what every mother eventually learns. That sometimes the worst choices are the only choices. That sometimes surviving means surrendering. That sometimes you sacrifice yourself so your children can breathe. 1 hour. Then everything would change. Again. The cement factory smelled like rust and old violence. Minjun had been here before. Years ago. When his father had brought him to witness what happened to men who betrayed the family. The memory was blood and screaming and lessons about loyalty taught through fear. Now he was the betrayer. The lesson waiting to be taught. Poetic, really. The kind of irony his father would appreciate. If his father knew. Which he would. Soon. Viktor Kozlov wasn't known for discretion. Minjun stood in the center of the factory floor. Alone. As instructed. No weapons, no backup, no insurance except the files he'd already sent. Files that would release automatically if he didn't check in every 6 hours. Dead man's switch. The same tactic his father had taught him. Footsteps echoed. Multiple sets. Men emerging from shadows. 6 of them. Armed. Professional. Surrounding him in a loose circle that could tighten into execution with one word. Then Viktor appeared. Older than Minjun expected. 60 maybe. Gray hair, expensive suit, face carved from decades of violence. Eyes that had seen everything and been impressed by nothing. You came alone, surprisingly stupid or impressively brave. Neither, just practical. If you wanted me dead, I'd be dead. This meeting means you want something else. Viktor smiled, thin, sharp. I want to watch your father's empire burn. You're offering me gasoline and matches. Of course I'm interested. Then we have a deal. Not yet. First, you tell me why. Why betray everything? Why destroy your own legacy? Why choose some woman and her brats over an empire 3 generations built? The question Minjun had been asking himself for 48 hours. The question that had only one answer. One truth that made sense of the senseless. Because they're mine. And my father's empire took everything else. It doesn't get them too. Viktor studied him, really looked, like he was searching for lies in truth, for weakness in strength, for the thing that would make this alliance a mistake. Your father killed my brother for less. For a territory dispute. For pride. For nothing that mattered. I know. And now you want me to protect your children, the next generation of the family that destroyed mine. Yes. You see the problem? I see the opportunity. You said you wanted my father's empire to burn. I'm the one holding the torch. Either you help me aim it or you waste time questioning my motives while he gets stronger. Viktor laughed. Actually laughed. Genuine. Surprised. You have your father's arrogance. That's dangerous. I have his training. That's useful. And his ruthlessness? Minjun thought about Arya's face when she told him to leave. About Mira fighting to breathe. About the choice he'd made in that hospital hallway. The choice that led here. To this factory. To this alliance. To this moment. No. Not his ruthlessness. That's the difference. That's why this works. Viktor circled him slowly. Predator assessing prey. Deciding if it was worth the bite. Here's my offer. I protect your woman. Your children. I make them disappear so completely your father's people won't find them with prayer and satellites. In exchange, you give me everything. Every account. Every operation. Every piece of leverage. You become my inside man until your father's empire is ash. Agreed. And when it's done? When your father is destroyed and his organization is mine? Then you let us go. All of us. Clean break. New identities. New lives. You never contact us again. And if I don't? Then the files I sent aren't the only insurance I have. There's more. Worse. Things that would destroy you as completely as they'll destroy my father. Released automatically if anything happens to me. Or them. Viktor's smile widened, respect mixing with menace. You really are his son. No, I'm better. Because I know when to stop. They stood in silence. 2 men from different worlds, different loyalties, different histories. United by one thing, hatred for the same man. Viktor extended his hand. Deal. Your family disappears. You destroy your father. We both win. Minjun shook it, felt the weight of what he'd just done, the alliance that would either save everything or doom it. When do they move? Tonight. My people are already in position. They'll take your woman and the children to a location even I won't know. Safest way. She'll resist. She will. You should call her. Explain. Women listen better when it's not strangers with guns. Minjun pulled out his phone, dialed Arya's number. It rang twice. Minjun. Her voice was tight, scared, trying to hide it. Arya, listen. I don't have much time. There are people coming. They're going to move you and the babies somewhere safe. I know. Someone already called. I'm not going. You have to. I don't have to do anything, especially not disappear with your hired thugs. They're not thugs. They're protection. The best. I don't want protection. I want my life back. I want you gone. I want... Her voice broke. He heard everything she couldn't say. All the fear, all the rage, all the exhaustion. He'd done this, put her in this position, made her choose between bad options because good ones didn't exist anymore. I know I took everything from you. But Arya, please. Trust me one more time. Let them move you. Let them keep you safe while I fix this. You can't fix this. You are this. I can end it. I swear. I can end the threat. Destroy everyone who'd come after you. But I need time, and I need to know you're safe while I work. Silence. He could hear her breathing. Could picture her standing in that apartment with babies sleeping and suitcases packed and choices that shouldn't exist. How long? She finally asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. And then? Then you're free. Really free. New identities, new city, enough money to never worry, clean break from all of this. And you? The question he'd been avoiding. The truth he hadn't wanted to face. I don't get to come back, that's the price. You get freedom. I get to know you're safe. He heard her breath catch. Heard something that sounded like crying. Or maybe just exhaustion finally winning. I hate you, she whispered. I know. But I'll go. For them. Not for you. That's enough. Minjun? Yeah? Don't die. They should know their father, even if I can't forgive you. The line went dead. Minjun stood in that factory and felt something break inside his chest. Something he'd been holding together through will and denial and desperate hope. Victor was watching. She matters to you. More than the Empire ever did. That's why you'll win. Your father never understood that. Power without purpose is just noise. You have purpose now. Minjun nodded. Checked his watch. 3 hours until sunset. 3 hours until Arya and the babies disappeared into protection he'd bought with betrayal. 3 hours until the point of no return. He'd already crossed it. Now he just had to survive what came next. The men came at sunset. Professional. Silent. 3 of them in tactical gear that looked military but wasn't. Private security. The kind that protected diplomats and billionaires and people who needed to vanish. Arya watched them through the window. Her heart hammered against her ribs like it was trying to escape her chest. This was happening. Really happening. She was about to disappear with 3 5-month-old babies because the man she'd loved had dragged her into a war she never asked to fight. The knock was soft, respectful. Nothing like the violent intrusion she'd imagined. She opened the door 3 inches, chain still on. Ms. Santos, I'm Marcus. We spoke on the phone. He was exactly what she expected. Tall, built, face that had seen violence and learned to inflict it. But his eyes were kind, tired. The eyes of someone who'd protected people before. Who understood fear. I need to see identification. He held up a badge. Private security firm. Licensed, legitimate, or at least convincing enough to pass inspection. Can I come in? We don't have much time. Your building is being watched. Not by us. Arya's blood went cold. By who? People looking for Minjun. They don't know about you yet. But they will. We need to move before they connect the dots. She let him in, closed the door, locked it like that would help. Marcus scanned the apartment with professional efficiency. You're packed. Good. We have 2 vehicles. 1 decoy. 1 real. You'll take the real one. My team will take the decoy with weighted bags that look like car seats. Anyone following will track the wrong vehicle. Where are you taking us? I don't know. That's not a lie. I know the first location. A transfer point. From there, Another team takes you to the final destination. Compartmentalized information. Safer for everyone. How is that safer? I'm trusting strangers with my children. You're trusting the man who hired us, who's paying more than most people make in a decade to keep you safe, who gave very specific instructions that if anything happens to you or those babies, we don't get paid, we get hunted. Arya looked at the cribs, at Mira, Zara, and Kai sleeping peacefully, unaware their mother was about to uproot their entire existence for the second time in 6 months. I need 5 minutes to say goodbye to the apartment. 3 minutes, then we move. Marcus stepped outside, gave her space. Professional courtesy from a man paid to invade her life. Arya walked through the small apartment she'd called home, the place where she'd brought the babies from the hospital, where she'd learned to be a mother, where she'd survived alone. It wasn't much, but it was hers. Now it was just another place she'd left behind because of Minjun Kim. She picked up her phone, almost called him, almost screamed at him for doing this, for forcing her hand, for making her choose between pride and survival. But what would she say that she hadn't already said? Instead, she took pictures of the apartment, of the cribs, of the window that looked out on the city. Evidence that this life had existed, that she'd built something before it was torn away. Then she picked up Mira, kissed her forehead. We're going on an adventure, baby girl. Mama's going to keep you safe, I promise. Mira stirred, opened her eyes, looked at Arya with trust so complete it physically hurt. Marcus knocked. Time. Arya gathered Zara and Kai. Marcus helped with the car seats, the diaper bag, the suitcases. They moved quickly, efficiently, down the back stairs, to a service entrance she'd never used. 2 black SUVs waited. Identical. Tinted windows. No plates visible from this angle. Marcus guided her to the second vehicle, helped secure the car seats with practiced hands that suggested he'd done this before. For other families, other people running from other wars. The drive is 4 hours. There's formula, diapers, everything you need. Driver's name is Sarah, former Marine, mother of 2. She knows what she's doing. And you? I'm taking the decoy, leading them away from you. If I don't make it, Sarah knows what to do. The casual way he said, if I don't make it, made Arya's stomach drop. This wasn't a game. People died in Minjun's world, and now she was part of it whether she wanted to be or not. Marcus, thank you. He nodded. Thank Minjun. He's the one paying for your freedom, even if it costs him everything. He closed the door, tapped the roof twice. The SUV moved, smooth, professional. Arya looked back once. Saw Marcus getting into the other vehicle. Saw the building where she'd lived disappearing into the city. Saw her old life ending. Again. The driver, Sarah, met her eyes in the rearview mirror. You okay back there? No, but I will be. That's the spirit. Your babies are beautiful, by the way. How old? 5 months. Triplets? You're a warrior. I had 2 and thought I was dying. Arya almost laughed, almost cried. Did neither. Just held it together because falling apart wasn't an option when 3 lives depended on her strength. They drove for hours. The babies slept, woke, cried, were fed, changed, soothed, all while the city disappeared behind them and an unknown destination grew closer. Somewhere around hour 3, Arya's phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Don't text back, just read. You're safe. Marcus made it. Decoy worked. Your father is looking for you in the wrong state. Sleep if you can. Tomorrow everything changes. MJ Arya stared at the message, at the initials that meant everything and nothing. Minjun was checking in, making sure she knew, giving her information without asking for anything back. She wanted to hate him for it, wanted to hate him for caring, but hate required energy she didn't have anymore. She deleted the message and closed her eyes. Let exhaustion win. Let someone else drive for once. Let the uncertainty of tomorrow wait until tomorrow actually arrived. For now, her babies were safe. She was alive. That was enough. It had to be enough. Because anything more felt like hope. And hope was dangerous when your life was built on running. Minjun spent 3 days systematically destroying his father's empire. It was easier than he'd expected. 30 years of criminal infrastructure collapsed with strategic precision when you knew where every support beam stood. He started with the money. Rerouted offshore accounts, exposed shell corporations, fed information to the FBI through channels that couldn't be traced, watched as federal investigations that had been stalled for years suddenly found evidence, found motivation, found political will to move against the Kim family. His father called 12 times the first day. Minjun ignored all of them. Let the old man wonder. Let him feel the ground shifting beneath him. Let him taste uncertainty for the first time in decades. Day 2, Minjun hit the territory, met with rival families, offered deals, gave them access to Kim operations in exchange for nothing but their promise to push hard, to take advantage of the chaos, to move fast before his father could regroup. The city's criminal landscape began to shift, like tectonic plates realigning. What had been stable for a generation became fluid, dangerous, unpredictable. His father called 6 more times, then stopped. That silence was more terrifying than the calls, because silence meant planning, meant his father had stopped reacting and started strategizing, meant the war was about to get real. Day 3, his father found him. Of course he did. You didn't run a criminal empire for 30 years without knowing how to track your own son. The meeting was inevitable. Minjun had been preparing for it since the moment he'd shaken Viktor Kozlov's hand. They met at the family compound, the house where Minjun had grown up, where his mother had died, where his brother had bled out on expensive carpet, where every lesson about power and loyalty and survival had been beaten into him with words sharp enough to scar. His father sat behind the desk that had seen 3 generations of Kim patriarchs. Older now, gray hair. Lines carved deep from stress or age or both. But the eyes were the same, cold, calculating, measuring Minjun like an investment that had gone bad. You've been busy. His father's voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that preceded violence. I learned from the best. You learned nothing. If you had, you'd understand what you've done. What you've destroyed. I understand perfectly. I destroyed a legacy built on blood. Good riddance. His father stood, moved to the window, looked out at the grounds where Minjun had played as a child, before he'd learned that play was weakness. That childhood was a luxury men like them couldn't afford. For what? Some woman? Some children you've never met? I've met them now, and they're worth more than this. Minjun gestured at the office, at the compound, at everything their family had built. Their leverage. Don't you see? The moment you cared about something, you handed our enemies a weapon. The moment you showed love, you showed weakness. And in our world, weakness is death. Then I'll die weak. Better than living like you, empty, alone, building an empire with no one to inherit it. His father turned, really looked at him. And for the first time in Minjun's life, he saw something other than calculation in those eyes. He saw something that looked almost like sadness. Almost like regret. Almost human. You think I wanted this? You think I chose to be this? Yes. Then you understand nothing about sacrifice, about what it takes to protect a family. I did everything, to make sure you were safe, that you had power, that you'd never be vulnerable like I was. And look how well that worked. I'm vulnerable anyway, because power doesn't protect you from feeling. It just makes the fall hurt more. His father's face hardened. The moment of almost humanity disappearing like it had never been. You've made your choice. Now live with the consequences. Or more accurately, die with them. Is that a threat? It's a certainty. You've made enemies of everyone. Viktor Kozlov will betray you the moment you're no longer useful. The families you've given territory to will turn on you once they consolidate power. The FBI you've fed information to will want you next. You've burned every bridge, destroyed every alliance, and for what? And a fantasy that you can protect 3 children by destroying the only thing that kept them safe. My fear. Your fear didn't keep them safe. It put targets on their backs. My fear kept them unknown, invisible, safe in their anonymity. Now everyone knows. Every enemy I've made in 30 years knows I have grandchildren. Knows they're your weakness, your vulnerability, your kryptonite. Minjun felt ice slide down his spine. What did you do? His father smiled, thin, sharp, terrible. I did what you forced me to do. I removed the threat. I made sure no enemy could use your children against me. Where are they? Safe. In a facility where they'll be raised properly. Without you. Without that woman. Raised to understand power. To never make your mistakes. Minjun moved without thinking, crossed the desk, had his hands on his father's throat before conscious thought caught up. Where are they? His father didn't fight, didn't struggle, just looked at him with those cold eyes. Now you understand. Now you feel what I've felt every day for 30 years. The fear that someone will take what matters. The rage that makes you willing to kill. The understanding that love is just another cage. Release me or don't. Either way, you don't get them back. Not while I breathe. Minjun's hands shook. Every instinct screamed to squeeze, to end it. To watch the life drain from the man who'd made him into a monster. Who'd just stolen his children. Who deserved death for crimes Minjun couldn't even catalog. But killing his father wouldn't bring them back. Would only make him exactly what he was trying to escape. Would prove his father right about everything. He released him, stepped back, tried to think through the rage, through the fear, through the absolute certainty that his world had just ended. This is war then. Real war. His father adjusted his tie, unmoved, unafraid. This was always war. You just finally joined the battle. Too bad you're fighting for the wrong side. Minjun left the compound knowing 3 things with absolute certainty. His father had his children. Viktor Kozlov was his only ally. And the next move would determine if anyone survived what came next. He made one call. To Viktor. 2 words. They're taken. Viktor's response was immediate. Cold. Expected. Then we take them back. And your father dies. Minjun had spent his whole life avoiding this moment. The moment when killing his own father became not just possible but necessary. The moment when blood loyalty meant nothing compared to the blood he'd created. He'd crossed that line now, burned that bridge, accepted the cost. Agreed. He dies. But the children come first. Obviously, I'm Russian, not a monster. The irony wasn't lost on Minjun. He'd allied with his father's greatest enemy to kill his own father. Had traded one empire for another, had become exactly the kind of betrayer who deserved everything coming to him. But if it saved his children, he'd become worse. He'd become anything, even the monster he'd always feared he'd be. Arya knew something was wrong before Sarah said anything. It was in the way the driver's shoulders tensed, the way her eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror, the way her hand moved closer to something under her jacket, something that looked like a weapon. Sarah? What's wrong? Near probably nothing, just stay quiet for a minute, let me check something. The SUV slowed, pulled off the highway onto a rest stop. Empty. Too empty for midday. The kind of empty that felt staged. Wrong. Sarah's phone buzzed. She answered without taking her eyes off the surroundings. Talk to me. When? How many? Understood. She hung up. Met Arya's eyes in the mirror. We have a problem. The safe house has been compromised. Someone leaked the location. Who? Don't know, but we're not going there. We're going to alternate location. Backup plan. It's further, rougher, but safer. How much further? Another 6 hours. I'm sorry, I know you're exhausted. Arya looked at the babies. Kai was fussing. Mira needed changing. Zara would be hungry soon. 6 more hours in a car with 3 infants who were already pushed to their limit. We don't have a choice, do we? No, ma'am. We don't. They drove, and drove, and drove. The landscape changed from highway to back roads. From civilization to something wilder, more remote, more isolating. Arya tried calling Minjun. The number was disconnected. Tried the number that had texted her. Same thing. She was completely cut off. No communication, no updates. No idea if Minjun was alive or dead, or if she'd ever see him again. The not knowing was worse than anything else. Worse than running. Worse than hiding. Worse than watching her children cry from exhaustion and confusion, and the stress of being moved like cargo. Around hour 8, 2 hours past Sarah's estimate, they pulled up to a cabin. Remote, surrounded by forest. The kind of place people disappeared to and never came back from. Arya's every instinct screamed danger. But what choice did she have? Drive herself? To where? With 3 babies and no resources and no idea who was hunting her? Sarah helped her inside. The cabin was rustic but functional. Running water, electricity, heat. A crib that someone had assembled in advance, supplies, formula, diapers. Everything she'd need. You'll be safe here, Sarah said. I'm staying. Guard duty. There's another team member coming in 12 hours. We'll rotate. You're never alone, never unprotected. For how long? Sarah's face said she didn't want to answer. Until it's safe. Could be days. Could be weeks. Could be never. Could be never, Sarah admitted. I won't lie to you. This situation is complicated. But Min-jun is handling it. From what I hear, he's handling it very well. Your job is to stay alive. Keep those babies safe. Let him do what he does. Arya wanted to scream. Wanted to break something. Wanted to rage against a universe that kept taking from her. But rage wouldn't feed her children. Wouldn't keep them warm. Wouldn't change the fact that she was trapped in a cabin in the middle of nowhere because she'd fallen in love with the wrong man. She settled the babies, fed them, changed them, put them down in the crib together. They cried for 10 minutes. Then exhaustion won and they slept. Arya stood at the window looking out at trees and darkness and isolation. Behind her, Sarah sat in a chair, gun on her lap, eyes on the door. Professional, vigilant, prison guard disguised as protector. This was her life now. This cabin, this isolation, this constant fear. All because Min-jun Kim had loved her enough to destroy everything, including her freedom. Her phone, the one that didn't work anymore, buzzed. Impossible. It was disconnected. But it buzzed anyway. One message, coming through some system she didn't understand. I'm sorry, I'm fixing it. Trust me, please. MJ. Arya stared at the message. At words that meant everything and nothing. At apology from a man who'd made her a prisoner trying to keep her safe. At the impossible request that she trust him when trust had gotten her here. She typed back, knowing it probably wouldn't send. Knowing he probably wouldn't see it. Knowing it didn't matter because words couldn't fix this. I'm trying. God help me. I'm trying. But I don't know how much more I can take. How much more they can take. Fix it fast. Or let us go. Those are the only options left. She hit send, watched it fail, deleted the message, deleted his message, deleted everything because keeping evidence felt dangerous when she didn't know who was watching. Then she sat next to the crib and watched her babies sleep. 3 innocent souls caught in a war they didn't start. 3 lives she'd die to protect. 3 reasons to survive one more day in this nightmare. Outside, the forest whispered. Inside, Sarah watched the door. And somewhere in the city, Min-jun fought battles Arya couldn't see against enemies she couldn't name for a future that felt increasingly impossible. Day 1 in the cabin ended with Arya finally falling asleep in a chair, hand reaching through the crib bars to touch Mira's leg. Maintaining contact. Proving she was still there. Still present. Still their mother despite everything trying to take that away. She dreamed of Min-jun dying. Of being trapped forever. Of her children growing up not knowing freedom. She woke up screaming. Sarah was there instantly. Checking. Securing. Reassuring with words that felt hollow. You're safe. They're safe. Everything's okay. But everything wasn't okay. And Arya was starting to suspect it never would be again. 3 days later. The door burst open. Not Sarah. Not the relief guard. Someone else. Someone whose face made Sarah reach for her gun but freeze before drawing. Someone whose presence changed everything. He was tall, Korean, expensive suit, dangerous smile. Face that looked almost exactly like Min-jun's, but different, colder, crueler. Older by maybe 5 years. Hello, Arya. I'm Jin-ho Kim, Min-jun's brother, the one everyone thinks is dead. He looked at the crib, at the sleeping babies, at 3 souls he shouldn't know about but clearly did. And I'm here to collect my nephews and niece. My father sends his regards. Sarah's gun was out now, pointed, ready. Step back, now. Jin-ho smiled. Behind him, 4 men appeared, armed, professional, outnumbering, outgunning. Sarah Mitchell, former Marine, excellent service record, 2 children of your own, ages 7 and 9. They're at school right now. PS 247. Mrs. Henderson's class and Mr. Rodriguez's class, respectively. It would be a shame if anything happened to them because you made a poor choice here. Sarah's face went white. Her gun lowered an inch, just an inch, but it was enough. Jin-ho moved, fast, disarmed her before Arya could blink. Had the gun pointed at Sarah's head while his men moved into the cabin. Arya threw herself in front of the crib. Touch them and I'll kill you myself. Jin-ho laughed. With what? Motherly rage. How adorable. Step aside. I'm not here to hurt them. I'm here to save them. From my brother's incompetence. From my father's weakness. From the pathetic fantasy that love conquers all. These children are Kim's. They belong with family. Real family. Not playing house in the woods with hired guns and broken women. I'm their mother. You're an incubator who served her purpose. Now step aside. One of his men moved toward the crib. Arya didn't think, didn't plan, just acted. Grabbed the only weapon she had, a baby bottle, and swung it at his face. It shattered, glass and formula everywhere. The man stumbled back, bleeding, surprised. Jinho's smile widened. There it is, the fight. Good, you'll need that, because here's what's happening. You're coming with us, you and the children. My father wants them. I want them. And what we want, we take. Minjun can't protect you anymore. He's too busy fighting a war he's already lost. So you have a choice. Come quietly and maybe you survive this. Fight and watch Sarah die. Then come anyway. Your choice. Arya looked at Sarah, at the gun pointed at her head, at the hopelessness in her eyes, at the calculation happening behind them. Sarah was measuring odds, wondering if she could take one of them down before they killed her, before they hurt the children, before this went from bad to worse. Don't, Arya whispered. Don't sacrifice yourself. Your children need you. So do yours. Mine need me alive. Even if it means going with them. She turned to Jinho, met his eyes, saw the cruelty there, the ambition, the complete lack of anything resembling mercy. This man was worse than Minjun's father, worse than any enemy she'd imagined, because he had nothing to lose. No legacy to protect, no reputation to maintain, just ambition wrapped in violence. I'll go. But if you hurt them, if you hurt even one of them, I'll find a way to destroy you. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it costs. I'll end you. Jinho leaned close, whispered in her ear. I'm counting on it. Makes it more fun. His men gathered the babies. Gentle enough not to wake them, but firm enough to prove this wasn't negotiable. Gathered the diaper bag, the supplies, everything. Like they'd practiced. Like they'd done this before. Like stealing children was just another Tuesday. They left Sarah tied to a chair, alive, conscious, witnessing. Jinho wanted her to tell Minjun what happened. Wanted him to know. Wanted him to feel this. As they pushed Arya into a different SUV, this one black and armored and impossible to track, Jinho leaned into the window. Tell my brother when he comes for you, and he will come. Tell him his dead brother sends his regards. Tell him the empire he destroyed wasn't the only thing I'm taking back. Tell him family is forever, even when you betray it. Especially then. The SUV pulled away. Arya held Mira, Zara, and Kai against her chest and watched the cabin disappear. Watched her last hope of safety vanish into trees and distance. Watched her future become whatever Jinho Kim decided it would be. And somewhere in the city, Minjun was about to learn that the brother he'd mourned for 5 years wasn't dead, was very much alive, and had just taken everything that mattered. To be continued in episode 3. The brother everyone thought was dead. The children stolen in the night. Arya trapped in the heart of enemy territory. And Minjun facing a truth more devastating than any betrayal. His brother didn't die in that warehouse fire. He survived, and he's been planning this revenge for 5 years. Sometimes the dead don't stay buried. Sometimes they come back hungry. And sometimes the worst enemy is the one who shares your blood. Episode 3. The dead don't rest.